Hey guys, tonight we're plopping back in time to see how the royal folks kept it clean. Well, cleanish. Imagine you're lounging on your sofa, fuzzy socks warming up your toes, with maybe a mug of something steamy in hand. Your sleepy dog stretches nearby, like he thinks naps are a full-time job. You probably won't survive this. The strangeness is bound to keep you wide awake. Just kidding. Let's get you nice and cozy, and maybe a little bemused. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from, and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up, stretching your imagination as if it's an old, worn robe of royalty, and you find yourself in a time where opulence drips from the walls like too much icing on an overdone cake. You've walked straight into a room fit for a king, literally. It's the 17th century, and everything around you screams wealth with a kind of fervor that whispers, "I can't hear you over my money." Royal bathing rituals. Now that's a fine place to start. You're probably thinking of rolling showers or spa days, but back then, it was something entirely different. Imagine, if you will, a bathtub larger than your living room with water that's soaked up using boiled herbs. Or maybe orange blossom petals if it's a day when the sun is shiny and the treasury fills like greedy hands at a fair. Let me take you to King Louis XIV's palace, because you can't do a proper historical hygiene recap without the Sun King, right? The Versailles is mighty impressive with all its gilded mirrors and frescoed ceilings, even if you're more of a Netflix binge watch on couch type. But here's a quirky slide into this golden dream. The king famously only bathed twice a year, if that. You heard it. Twice. Makes you rethink grumbling about your monthly water bill, huh? The traditions were more about fumigating oneself with perfumes, trying not to wrinkle under all that regalia. The dense musks and florals sometimes had to compete with aromas that you'd rather not meet at an ornate gathering. But to anoint oneself so fragrantly was about status, as if they're walking reminders of how splendidly above the peasantry they floated. The question written in the margins of history is, honestly, how did they stand it? Historians still argue whether the infrequency was by choice or necessity. Let's throw in a tidbit to add zest. Royal entry into the bath was an occasion, summoning courtiers like a half-rehearsed play. Talk about pressure to soak in style. And I'm wondering, do you sometimes scroll through countless memes just to express emotions without really communicating? The courtiers are doing something just like that, only with bows and titles. The shared mystery of when and why these bathing habits changed is like how we wonder if we'll ever stop texting LOL when it's so emotionless. Now, the stone floors of the palace are chilling your feet, and the silence, though embroidered with distant lutes and laughter, is strangely peaceful. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling that ancient grandeur slowly seep into your bones as you start to wonder about how grandiose life might feel, all splendor and ritual. Remember to breathe. Your breath in this imagined air smells of history, layers upon layers of stories, and perhaps dried lavender. Or is that someone's forgotten experiment in floral scents walking by? So there you are, making friends with an ancient pomp that feels strangely both overbearing and missing in our modern type of social tapestry. A tapestry of ever-changing software updates and Wi-Fi signals instead of the never-dimming chandeliers and velvet corridors of Louis's day. Who knew clean and proper had so many facades? With this curious dip into the past, we're teasingly scratching just the surface, waiting to dive deeper, perhaps with a little less perfume and more frequency. The night is young, or old if you go by its dark, velvety cloak, and we've only just begun unpeeling these peculiar habits, layered as those double pumpkin spice lattes everyone pretends not to love around the fireplace. You find yourself nestled deeper into this unfolding tapestry of time, like an unexpected cozy nook in a grand old library. Now, gently, let's wade across a few deserts and seas to the sand-swept shores of ancient Egypt, where mystery and allure dance in the warm, golden dust. We're here to muse over the legendary queen who seemed to know the secret handshake to elegance itself, Cleopatra. And what's she known for besides her infectious charm and keen mind? Well, her infamous milk baths, of course. Picture this: Cleopatra reclining in a bath, not with your usual water that sloshes around like it's totally winning the laziness competition, but filled with milk. Yeah, literal, creamy milk. It sounds luxurious, right? Like some Instagram software self-care flex, but with an undeniable touch of class. Cleopatra believed it kept her skin soft and youthful, a bit like how we use filters on those "I woke up like this" selfies. Here's the kicker, though. Historians still argue whether these baths actually happened, or if they're just the stuff of legend, like tales we pass around at campfires while marshmallows glaze into gooey pillows of sugar. Did Cleopatra really soak in those milky waters, or is it all just a beautiful myth? Honestly, the ambiguity sort of adds a Cleopatra-esque charm, don't you think? Facing the unknown with regal mystique feels right on brand. Now, you might be thinking, who's milking all those cows? Or goats, perhaps, while the queen indulges in dairy soaks? The logistics of those times can spin your thoughts in delightful loops. Thankfully, you're spared the task, unlike running that chore/faux exercise app that can't count steps beyond the couch-to-fridge range. In contrast to this ancient decadence, imagine yourself texting "on my way" while still buried under the covers. Cleopatra's probably tapping her elegant fingers, wondering how you could inspire such witty laziness in her realm. But alas, back to our dreamy Arabian Night-esque tale. So here we are, lounging alongside the scents and whispers of Cleopatra's court. The perfumed oils and the soft, draped silks cover the air, and ground in a way that's almost like listening to a good jazz tune on a lazy Sunday morning. If you let yourself go, you might just sway along. Imagine Cleopatra's carefully coiffed hairdo, cascading like poetry's own mane, being tended to as she lounges like it's the Egyptian Netflix and chill. Their version might involve golden goblets and incense rising leisurely towards the heavens, unlike our pervasive blue screens. And as you drift from one luxurious thought to the next, consider this peculiar tidbit. Some say Cleopatra used donkey milk, which, let's face it, adds a touch of whimsy to this entire imagining. Historians still bat the milk choices around like a playful kitten with a ball of yarn. Was it goat or donkey? It seems the debates have a certain charm, like reminiscing about albums forever shelved in the aisles of history. Now pause. Feel how those old, sun-warmed stone walls seem to soak you in their quiet splendor. You can almost hear the soft rustling of ancient papyrus somewhere, the scribes writing down tales you can barely imagine. A luxurious reality I like to think smells faintly of a vanilla-soaked dream. All of this makes you wonder, doesn't it? If modern life is all about hustle culture, get up, grind, repeat. How did folks like Cleopatra find time to bask in lavish pursuits like milk baths? Maybe self-care wasn't so much a hashtag as it was a lifestyle, and it prompts an evocative wish that perhaps, today, the clang of emails and the blur of social media could occasionally pause to let us enjoy our own simple, elegant rituals with a little more grace and tranquility. Reflect on that as you feel the soft float of words, like warm breezes off the Nile, carrying your restful mind to a gentler, dreamier space. In this starlit night, with gentle thoughts tucking you into a deeper weave of sleep, there's an easy magic to be found, swirling like a whisper around antiquity's edges. You drift seamlessly through time, almost like you're skipping stones across a serene lake, each bounce taking you somewhere new until you land smack dab in the middle of another peculiar past. The world around is dimly lit, not unlike our living rooms, strewn with the faint glow of fairy lights and the quiet hum of a laptop forgotten in sleep mode. You're in an era when soap was nowhere to be found in the everyday person's cleaning arsenal, and you begin to wonder, if people didn't use soap, what on earth did they do instead? Well, my friend, you're about to find out. We're off to a medieval village where clarity is as rare as a day without a single notification. Let's talk about ashes. Yes, you heard it right, ashes. Cleaning involved mixing ashes with animal fat lovingly referred to as lye. The mixture was then used not only for washing clothes, but, in dire needs, it also served as a human cleanser. Can you imagine the sensation of rubbing ashes onto yourself? It's like scrubbing with scratchy wool, only dustier and definitely without any fruity fragrance. It's precisely the kind of curious concoction that's akin to trying to make whipped coffee during the early days of the pandemic. You only realize halfway through that it's messy and truly a lot of work for something you can get much easier. Now, there's a laughable mystery for you. Historians still argue whether it was used because people truly believed in its cleaning potential or simply because they had limited options. There's a certain charm in imagining the resourcefulness, though. Like when you're trying to convince yourself you can meal prep for the week, and you end up ordering takeout anyway, because the fridge won't magically fill itself overnight. In those old days, people made good on what they had, whether it was ashes, herbs, or brushes that seemed more medieval torture device than toiletry. And it's this quaint, wild ingenuity that somehow makes you grateful for the advances in hygiene, even if you sometimes think, do I really need shampoo in 5 different flavors? Walk the narrow, shadowed alleyways of the village, and you'll encounter hints of a world that moved at its own leisurely pace. You see, hygiene wasn't quite the DIY self-care kit we have today, with bath bombs twinkling in opalescent colors and lotions named after exotic fruits you've never encountered in real life. Instead, the people and their quirky cleaning tools somehow create a tapestry of resilience and endurance. It wasn't about 5-step skincare routines, but a single step of necessity and practicality. Sure, everyone reeking of lye aesthetic pungency must have meant noses were numb to odors that scream to us through flat screens today. But it's not the scent of banishment we imagine. Rather, it's an odd community of shared aroma, a sort of medieval group chat expanded into the fields, waving under a silvery moon. Here's a historical laugh for you. Using stale urine was a thing too. Yeah, the ammoniac qualities apparently helped lift stains from fabric and supposedly cleaned mouths too. If you're cringing at the thought, It's a bit like those toothpaste commercials, where the before and after show such stunning contrast only for you to drool at the mirror with modestly tinted enamel glory. As you hover on the delicate brink between old and new, there's joy in recognizing how the past shapes the present, even in the little, untended ways. There's still much in life we find ourselves stuck on, like ignoring all 5 alarms in a row, because the bed's warm embrace seems like the only oasis worth clinging to. But here you are, a traveler of time and imagination, recognizing the threads that tie our worlds together, maybe with a little less soot and a bit more suds. There's an odd comfort in walking these cobbled roads of history, replaying a beggar's smile or a town crier's echo as if they were your own private film reel, offering a prelude to modern comforts fashioned atop these peculiar old habits. You pull yourself through the worn curtain of time once more, and you're stepping, gently, mind you, because the ground is made of all too friendly mud, into the Tudor era, where it seems royal teeth might have been a bigger challenge than royal decrees. You find yourself gazing upon Queen Elizabeth I, she of the formidable gaze and unmistakable Tudor elegance. But listen, we're not here for her dazzling speeches or extravagant courtly dances. Oh no, tonight we're peeking at her dental habits. Now, Elizabeth's teeth were quite the topic. She, like many nobles of her time, had more than a passing fondness for sugar. You could say her sweet tooth was legendary, much like folks today have a soft spot for gourmet coffee or designer ice cream flavors with names that sound like they're auditioning for a Broadway musical. The downside, her teeth suffered for it, becoming famously discolored. Some whispered they were black, and others wondered if any remained at all beneath her stoic smile, stern as if reminding itself to hold the line against history's judgment. Here's an interesting fact. Royal portraits often avoided showing glimpses of these imperfect teeth or anything less than the finest royal facade. It's almost akin to picking just the right angle for your selfies, where the light hits just so. And imperfection is just another word for authenticity that Netflix documentaries love throwing around. Now, the question that twines itself around this tale is why Elizabeth, with all her power and influence, didn't do more for dental care. But historians still argue whether proper knowledge and tools existed or whether the sugar itself was too novel, and novel a temptation to resist. Much like how we can't help but scroll through Instagram way past a reasonable bedtime, each swipe more sugar-laden than the next. And here's for our quirky side note. It was said Elizabeth used honey and sugar paste to clean her mouth. Irony singing with a bitter twang, like when your phone suddenly dies at 2%. Because, just like Elizabeth with her teeth, good practices weren't quite in place yet. Now, imagine yourself wandering through the bustling, cobbled streets of the Tudor towns, scented lightly with spices and the occasional rustic scent that make you reflexively raise an imaginary mask to your face. Amidst the tapestry of town life lies the vibrant exchange of goods, whispers, and laughter over toothaches and the Queen's rumored palate. You can almost hear the rustle of cloaks and the shuffle of shoes on stones as echoes of Elizabeth's courtly tales resonate. And as you nestle deeper into this quiet hum of the past, you feel this odd kinship with Elizabeth's plight. The incompleteness of her story mirrors the unfathomable mystery of life, influenced by everything from luck to legacy, or in modern terms, algorithms and aspirational playlists. So here we are, reflecting on Elizabeth's choices, or perhaps her curious lack thereof, as if they were jigsaw pieces only Elizabeth herself could complete. Modern dentistry might have solved many mysteries she faced, with antiseptic solutions and toothbrushes that sing, gently coaxing the day awake. And yet, imagine leaning in closely enough to let her whispered tales of sugar and sovereignty shape the narrative of midnight dreams that drift, quilted with histories unscripted and unforeseen. With the modern world's diligent routines to brush and floss, hands tracing ritual movements known so well, there's an anchor in this discursive drift. Perhaps it serves as a reminder of where we are and where we've come from, gently molding hope for where we're going, all night long. As your night-leading journey spins forward like a gentle ocean current, you wade into the whimsical world of powdered wigs and gracefully exaggerated coiffures. You find yourself stepping into an ornate salon, glittering with candles and crystal holders and mirrors, reflecting a mesmerizing dance of light. Much like twinkling LEDs at a concert designed for one's inner aesthetic to softly sway. Welcome to 18th century Europe, where hair was a canvas as well as a privilege. Imagine this, standing still in the ornately patterned shadows as you watch aristocrats donning towering wigs that could practically host garden parties all on their own. These towering structures weren't just hairpieces. They were symbols of status, fashion, and, admittedly, a way to snag curious glimpses of the time. Picture a headpiece as elaborate as modern origami unfolded into a 4-story house. Only it's lightly perched atop one's head, defying gravity with sheer whimsy. Powdered wigs were dusted delicately with a fine blend of starch or finely ground flour, mixed with scents one might declare audaciously floral, or marvelously musky, if you will. This confectionery delight dusted on heads was perhaps the Snapchat filter of its day, bestowing a glow worlds apart from any unpowdered soul. Yet, here's where the tale takes its winding twist. The powdered wig had its irksome sidekick, the dreaded lice, a tiny nuisance that turned elegance into strategic combat. Folks often had to use pomade made of animal fat, a sticky, odorous layer that may have ensured more than half of Europe spent nights scratching wistfully at their otherwise regal curls. Now, you might ask, why all this trouble and toil just to top their heads with something akin to a vanilla snowstorm? Historians still argue whether the wigs were solely for fashion or whether they also served as a practical remedy for hair loss, even as nature's wigs failed to find traction. Maybe it was both, like selecting dark mode not only for battery efficiency, but because it resonates with your inner nocturnal vibes. A quirky note unfolds here. The penchant for wigs extended even to some fleas. No, not fashion-forward pests, but rather little imitations tied to packs and sold as novelties. You might pause and wonder if somewhere between elongated hairstyles and buzzing salons lies an elegant thread connecting us to then, threading evening routines into rituals separated by centuries, but gathered at the cusp of vanity tales told across generations. Picture the wig wearers, donning layers of powder so animalistic particles lay entangled till evening's grand arrival. Delicate tunes hum in the background, hiding under candlelit intrigue as you meander through this time. The hurried whispers in this overlay seem no quieter than murmuring fans that have counted decades, keeping watch over whispered secrets and mundane gossip. Curled into this softest of warm nights, thoughts drift toward the surreal intersections of then and now. We train eyes persistently on identities crafted with tools, not magic spells. Whether hammering the algorithm or sculpting in meticulous swirls of ivory and ivory's fragrant imitations. The night thus stretches and unfurls, leaving space for wonder and mellow thoughts to mingle, washing gently at the beach of your evening musings. You feel blessed with the comfort of a shared timelessness, a pastime of silent wanderers living in centuries past while evolving forward in whispers of discovery and dance yet unknown. Ah, the scented path draws you further into the heart of royal excess, leading to the grandiose court of Louis XIV, the Sun King himself. You stroll into the breathtaking corridors of Versailles, and oof, the first thing you notice isn't its golden glamour, but, well, let's just say, an overwhelming aroma. It's a curious concoction of opulence mingled with something far less regal. See, whilst Louis XIV's palace was a marvel to behold, it had a bit of a reputation for being, shall we say, fragrant in ways that would make modern noses wrinkle in disbelief. Between all those gilded hallways, the lack of, effective plumbing meant that natural aromas took center stage. Picture palace events orchestrated like symphonies, yet composed to mask tales of chamber pot mishaps and unwashed courtiers skulking past like fragrant shadows. So there you are, experiencing a nose-full, not quite the olfactory lullabies one might prepare for sleep. More like an unexpected perfume explosion. Doesn't it make you appreciate that fresh autumn candle flickering beside you? With its cinnamon and balsam, and not a hint of anything historically pungent. Now, it's time for a little historical chuckle. The courtiers, masters of adaptation when it came to maintaining their airs of superiority, adopted exceedingly heavy doses of perfume. And heavy is apt, as the scent could nearly herald a nostalgia of its own. A perfume pelt fit to escort embody swoon, intentionally or not. You couldn't just sidestep the experience any more than you could ignore the thrum of your fridge late at night. It simply enveloped everything. Historians still argue whether King Louis endured his perfumed court. Understanding it masked a tapestry of overlooked stench, or whether layers of fragrance became a beloved jazz of competing scents and sibylline intrigues. The argument unfurls like imagining the man himself appraising each spritz with imperious pride, as if scent alone could gild his palace's air. Here's where we drift into quirky territory, my friend. In some cases, wait for it, courtiers were given small bouquets, called nosegays, to press against their noses in a pastoral dance of floral camouflage. These entourage blooms were like prehistoric air fresheners, a florist's gift fit for the elite and pungent clad. Meanwhile, you can almost hear the court's grandeur echo with footsteps, the droplets of chandeliers whispering above as if to mimic stars in a twilight sky. The giggles simmer under soft silk ruffles and woven brocades, while Louis models his refined oblivion as only one unaware of nasal mutinies might. Let's imagine for a second. You're there, part of the court, wrapping yourself in the decidedly too loud silence of an overly perfumed presence. Watching, playing tasteful roles, and enjoying society's dance, sutured by norms, solidarity, and sometimes the conspicuous absence of subtlety. One simple breath after the next. It's like turning off push notifications, knowing silence might just be too loud, but hey, here's to trying. The night air interlaces a calming mingling of humor. Our modern-day humor seems oddly soft-sculpted, molded not unlike history's whimsical molds of sense and sensibility refracting like rays of a sunset caught behind clouds, gracefully merging and embellishing tales. Those of lives unfolding beneath stars, ancient and agelessly mere myths in themselves to guide hearts into moments unseen and tomorrow's hopeful richness. You leave behind the perfume-laden halls of Versailles, stepping out into the wide cobblestone streets of ancient Rome, where public life unfurls with peculiar customs and vigor. Here, the hustle and bustle, mixed with the earthy sense of dust and history, invite you to discover the storied Roman baths, a place where social and hygienic rituals intertwine like threads weaving tales across marble tablets. These Roman baths were much more than mere cleansing spots. They were vibrant hubs of culture and convivial chatter. Imagine grand spaces sprawling beneath domed ceilings, filled with warm, steamy air, like your favorite sauna app, but without the need for calming playlists. Citizens would gather there not just to bathe, but to mingle, conduct business, and philosophize as though discussing timelines instead of timelines, if you catch my drift. Now here's a twist. Cleanliness took peculiar forms. Romans had this thing called a strigil, a curved metal tool used to scrape dirt and oil off their skin. Surely, if they'd had TikTok back then, the Your Smooth Skin Challenge would have been trending with every scrape. It's indeed far from the gentle loofah of modern showers, yet it was their go-to method, their own brand of self-care. Primitive, yet strangely effective in its simplicity. Historians still debate whether the baths were open to all social classes or just a luxurious reprieve reserved for a privileged few. Imagine if your local gym had such discussions. VIP members only for the hottest new treadmills. Now, for the quirky side note, Romans were resourceful folks. They recycled urine. Yep, you read it right. As a kind of ancient bleach for cleaning clothes. It's an innovation that might leave you wrinkling your nose while appreciating their enviable ability to make do with practically everything their world offered. Push open the heavy, creaky bath doors, stepping into the warmth that seems to embrace you like the coziest winter blanket, and you can't help but notice how the air dances with a sense of camaraderie. There's laughter cascading from every niche, as though everyone's inner comedians have taken the stage in an ancient stand-up routine. What a sight it must have been, with the steam gently clinging to skin and tongue, twister debates winding through the mists like spoken stars. You let yourself marvel at the world the Romans built, a place where pragmatic styles of cleanliness spoke of ingenuity that lay at the core of their celebrated civilization. And perhaps you pause to wonder, looking at their lives splattered with grandiosity and routines. Do today's quirks, those playful deflections from ordinary routines we find in memes and emojis, echo such age-old necessities? In this swirl of history and humor, you can picture Romans winking knowingly from history's folds, chuckling that our modern-day entanglements are but fresh scripts in a play continually rewritten. The aroma of antiquity, heavy with oils and laughter, clings softly as you drift away. The past whispers blithely behind you, like a beloved old storyteller at the world's edge, shedding warmth and echoes across that layered passage called time. With this glimpse of Roman revelry, we inch closer, heartstrings oscillating between then and now. Two worlds entwined by the simplest urge to stay clean while living fully. As your mind aligns with sleep's gentle embrace, somewhere within these rhythmic oscillations lies a promise, a quest shared by humble ancients and singular dreamers tomorrow-bound. You glide further along the slumbering spiral of history, trading the steaming mists of Rome for the hushed and sacred chambers of the Vatican. Here, you're swept into the solemn and occasionally puzzling rituals that unfold beneath the intricate arches of papal power. The Vatican, a place cloaked in reverence, decisions, and, as it turns out, some rather curious attitudes towards hygiene. So you walk through these hallowed halls, where the scent is more about incense and less about scented candles designed to transport you to far-off places like Parisian cafes or ocean breeze. Though ironically, unlike a beach vacation, bath time was a tad lacking. You see, bathing was something the popes approached with, how shall we put it, a certain minimalism that speaks volumes about the era's distinct views on cleanliness. In fact, over many a borrowed century, various popes were noted for famously or infamously avoiding baths almost entirely. So here's a historical fact to chew over. Pope Clement V was rumored to have never bathed after his consecration. Imagine taking a vow not just of piety, but of bodily neglect. It's like deleting social apps to focus and realizing you might just miss out on all the essential chaos, or so they say. The debate historians love to ponder is why such rigorous avoidance. Historians still argue whether the Church's stance on cleanliness was theological, suspicious of fleshly indulgence, or simply a result of limited knowledge and resources. Imagine noting in emails, eliminating showers, with fingers crossed it's received in jest. Beyond their associations with spiritual purity, it's the quirky bits in papal hygiene that stick. They were worryingly close neighbors to medical treatments. At times, the treatment meant a diet exclusively consisting of the smell of anointed oils and powerful prayers, a far cry from those colorful gummy vitamins we mutter at being left petrified in the cupboard. As you wander these time-chiseled corridors, each footstep seems to echo stories of the faithful and the curious minds who pondered life's biggest riddles. Wrapped in loud robes or pious silence, intricate tapestries hang, whispering ancient mysteries of healed ailments and unique prescriptions. Pondering life's mysteries, including how one remains pious and presentable without clean springs for inspiration. Reflect for a moment how intriguing it is to consider that within these sacred structures, there thrived an air of wisdom and wonder, yet not without peculiarities that endure like a love for mythological heroes in modern blockbusters. It's in the sanctified layers of time that you find hidden laughter, not spoken, but twinkling off frescoed ceilings and stone floors, worn smooth by the passing of millions of feet, all seeking some semblance of sanctity. As you breathe in this centuries-old scripture-filled air, the night's gentle tide pulls you closer to dreams, weaving past intersecting threads of theology, divinity, and even bathwater. The gentle echoes of untold stories and holy mysteries soften your thoughts, a shared hush, binding the murmurs of history and the shadows of your quiet fan's lullaby, humming like an old chant. And in this silky pause, as the curtain of sleep descends slowly, you find an unspoken truce in wondering if, just maybe, the intertwining of past and present bears wisdom enough to guide us toward tomorrow, clean of skin or merely full of faith. Wrapping yourself within the tender, noble whispers of sacred nights gone by, within the narrative melodies spun in bright stained glass hues and tender silences, you float softly to dream. You drift with the grace of a leaf on a quiet stream, leaving behind the holy confines of the Vatican, and you arrive at the soothing embrace of a Japanese onsen. It's here, amid the rolling hills and soft morning mists, that you find tranquility perfected over centuries, a veritable symphony of wellness and tradition, playing out against the serene backdrops of steam rising from naturally heated springs. Picture yourself standing at the edge of this quiet, idyllic landscape, enveloped by nature's gentle whispers. The scent here is earthier, a marbling blend of mineral-rich water and the subtle sweetness of distant blossoms, a soothing contrast to the rich, aromatic fragrances that lingered in courts and chapels of history past. Japanese onsen bathing is a tradition steeped in customs as old as the mountains themselves. It invites an appreciation for the purity of water, drawing upon both healing properties attributed to hot springs for centuries and the ritualistic cleansing that is both bodily and spiritual. Just being there feels like a deep exhale of the soul, unlike anything modern-day bubble baths or day spas can replicate, though we certainly try when we sink into gardens of bath bombs, fizzing furiously like tiny, colorful volcanoes. In the onsen ethos, you honor the waters with silence, soaking in minerals that rejuvenate and revive, much like when your phone refreshes after a much-needed update. It's an unhurried return to simplicity, perhaps something perpetually demanded by today's fast-paced world that begs us to set 5 alarms even for a Saturday morning yoga class. Now, here's where the story gets its curious footnote. Some onsens separate visitors by gender, a traditional practice that has sparked an ongoing debate. Historians and cultural scholars still explore whether this tradition should bend with modernity's inclusive winds, mirroring similar crossroad decisions encountered over generations. It's a reflection of navigating change while preserving heritage, like choosing whether or not to send a text or call, even though you're perfectly happy just sending an emoji in a group chat. In these communal waters, you connect with an ageless anecdote where humanity's tales unwind, just like letting go of burdens in the warm embrace of healing waters surrounded by the reassuring hum of nature's lullaby. You can almost feel yourself share a breath with those who sought these waters long before, reaching for healing as they journeyed across wooded paths and sprawling hills to this sanctuary of steam and serenity. The evening sky drapes itself in midnight blue as you indulge in this tactile grace, where the senses come alive slowly, reverently. The ripples of the gentle breeze and sighs of the earth resonate like the quiet laughter exchanged among friends who've walked together across countless lives and storied landscapes. This onsen voyage takes you further along the charming dichotomy of history and modernity. Much like a quiet joy, felt in shared silence or shared water, nostalgia tugs the ties of past poetry. You smooth your fingers across ancient waters, feeling the kinship bridging those who've come and gone, a timeless commune with the earth's warm tapestry, stitching gentle lulls through the fading din of today and quietly whispering tomorrow's promise of peace and connection. Returning from this serene moment, you smile inwardly, feeling the armchair adventure blend seamlessly with contemporary coziness, like a beautifully mismatched set of soft socks beckoning for a sleepy afternoon nap. Indeed, somewhere in the overlap of forgotten centuries and onsen streams, the whisper of history eddies into a gentle wave, carrying you softly homeward, wrapped securely in a blanket of tranquility as dreams quietly await, cradled in yesterday's echoes and morning's tender grace. Slipping gently from the serene warmth of those historic waters, you find yourself wandering into a world where the bizarre and resourceful exist side by side. Picture yourself in a small, bustling town several centuries back, where the air holds the distinct aroma of toil and simplicity. you've stumbled upon another curious chapter of historical hygiene, a peculiar remedy for lice that might have you scratching your head involuntarily. Ah, yes. Let's talk about lard and lice, shall we? As you pad softly through cobbled streets, old world wisdom takes center stage. It was a time when resources were lean and resourcefulness was currency. The quest for lice control was an unceremonious part of life, tackled with equal parts determination and the willingness to try almost anything. Here's the wild part. People slathered their hair with lard. Yes, the slick, fatty residue from kitchen stores. Imagine reaching into a jar of coconut oil only to find its medieval cousin instead. Though sucking lice from the scalp with intense dedication might seem peculiar now, it was an accepted strategy back then. Honestly, just reading about it might give you the urge to double-check for any tiny squatters before bedtime. And while you chuckle, a quirky side note meanders into view. Some believe that adding a dash of pepper or sulfur to the lard might deter these unwelcome guests. It's the historical equivalent of infusing essential oils into every household product today, as if your unvalidated Pinterest hacks just might deter every stressor you face. But here's a head-scratcher for you. Historians still argue whether these methods worked effectively over time, or if they were simply rituals born of desperation. Picture a meeting of scholars locked somewhere between fascination and shrug. A cycle akin to deciphering social media terms of use with the fervor of coding a medieval manuscript. Now, the wind ruffles antiquated locks of hair, tracing worn paths born of necessity. How different the world must have felt under the shadow of lard-laden locks, yet threaded with an indomitable human spirit, an understanding that necessity shapes habits, for better or worse. It's an echo you might find in the constant recycling of fashion trends. What goes around, lard and all, comes around. Imagine the streets alive, with bustling vendors selling concoctions and hopes alike, the texture of life under fingertips, touching the sheer variety of solutions lining small carts. Some eminent, some decidedly less so. It's a community-driven approach, not unlike hitting up forums for urgent help. A singular SAS within collective synergy. Glimpses rewarding anticipation beyond immediacies of demand and supply. So you leave this curious period, swaddled in laughter and some appreciation for modern lice prevention that doesn't involve path-like spreads. But there's something charming about the resilience that underpinned this peculiar practice, reminding you that history often hums a tune of resourcefulness tied to human experience, enchantingly imperfect, humorously bold. As these dreams trail softly through the architecturally slated towns, they wear into the folds of slumber, passing like gentle rivers through your quiet sanctuary. Complementing tomorrow's awakening, anecdotes and chuckles, woven into twilight's memory of simpler solutions versus brevity's tease, prompt, thoughtful repose. Wandering visions and gentle smiles shape this soothing narrative lull as you close your eyes, appreciating Laird's odd companionship, bracing for another dance along life's balancing act between yesterday's aspirations and today's whimsical challenges. Your journey weaves onward through the intricate yet cozy tapestry of time, leading you now into the heart of the medieval world. A time when the word clean might have had a slightly different definition. Imagine yourself strolling through narrow streets with towers almost grazing the sky, the cobblestones whispering tales of footsteps long past. Welcome to an era where the buildings seem to lean in close, sharing secrets and the occasional whiff of medieval life. Medieval hygiene, or the noticeable lack of it, was an experience wrapped in a rich tapestry of necessity over luxury. Cleanliness was not top of the mind in a world more preoccupied with survival checks than wellness checks. So here's your historical fact for the night. Regular bathing was a luxury few could afford. For many, it was a yearly event, almost a festival of fabric sheds and wooden tubs allotted for grand rinse-offs. Picture yourself maneuvering through the crowd, the air laced with fragrances ranging from damp hay and animal housing to the curious potpourri of midday meals. It's like opening the fridge, hopeful for inspiration mid-scroll, only to find an ambiguous bundle of experimentations, wishing for gourmet, but expecting something akin to foraged finds. The medieval folk, familiar with limited access to water, often relied on steam baths that were sometimes more about social interactions than actual cleanliness. Communal steam rooms ushered people into a collective embrace, much like those open-access Wi-Fi spots today, where you catch up on online marathons amid strangers' stories, aligning briefly with your watch list montage. Now, here's a quirky tale breezing your way. At the intersection of necessity and innovation stood straw-covered floors, the medieval answer to hardwood polish. These straw-laden floors served as decor and dust collector, but hey, practicality suggested a periodic sweeping, topped with fresh layerings. Imagine subscribing to a delivery service that always arrives precisely at moments you contemplate heavier cleaning. Historians still argue whether these cleanliness tactics were the cause of burgeoning health issues, or if they were, in fact, a somewhat effective means of keeping at bay what unwelcome elements could be fended off. The debate mirrors today's clashing opinions over eco-friendly versus convenience-driven products, less about universal correctness and more about era-specific adaptation. Wandering further, you find yourself surrounded by a rustic, bustling marketplace where cheerful barter dances in rhythm with crows' caws and merchant calls echo like old-school notifications. The medieval day's drumbeat conducts harmonious challenges in a concert inviting life's simplest pleasures beside the grandest waves of folktales and mystics. As this antiquated world gently unravels its mystery in front of you, it's the shared humanity echoing over stone bridges which compels curiosity, a universal quest through the ordinary and odd, filled with creativity's audacious promise shaped day by day. So let the candlelit corridors guide your thoughts, weaving sleepily, etching daydreams and moon-whispered murmurs ever so softly onto the history-worn pages you've traversed, between the stones and starlight. With a comforting pause from echoes the past gifts us, you slip into velvety slumbers, snuggled by the warmth woven of yours amusing paradox. Here, modern life takes comfort in sepia-tinted reflections of yesteryears, with laughter, lore, and quiet embracing within day-guided wings aflight. You drift through the dim shadows of history's ever-turning scroll, and a gentle breeze now carries you north, where the Vikings sail into view, a hardy people with a surprisingly meticulous approach to grooming. Picture yourself at a wooden longhouse perched on the edge of a fjord, comfortable beneath the twilight, watching as these legendary sailors attend to an unexpectedly refined ritual of personal care. Despite their reputation for rugged conquest and storm-tossed ships, the Vikings had a keen sense of cleanliness that might surprise you. Viking grooming habits were not what you'd expect from those cataloged in the annals of fierce warriors. No, these were people who took great pride in their appearance, wielding combs and tools that even a modern grooming kit might envy. Here's a nugget of Viking reality. They washed and combed their hair regularly, much more than their contemporaries. Their combs, crafted from bone or antler, were prized belongings, found in abundance in archaeological digs, like those must-have electronic novelties today that buzz annoyingly till you realize they may just control your room lights after all. Comb in hand, watch them shape their hair with perfect strokes, akin to how you might soothingly edit a playlist, each note syncing seamlessly with life's rhythm. They also used hot springs for bathing, which were nature's onsens long before the term trended across cultures and centuries, brushing away the grime with waters heated deep in Earth's heart. A quirky flash then. Some sagas mention that Vikings bleached their hair using strong lye soap made from ash and animal fat, whitening not only clothing, but their hair to pale hues that drew admiration. Or perhaps detractors, curious whether blonde was really their flavor. It's the ancient answer to today's semi-regular urge for adventure whenever life seems short on surprises. Historians curiously argue whether such practices were born out of necessity, fashion, or both. It's this delight in wrestling with the balance, rather like teasing grains from sugar crystals. Satisfying, or a muddle of uncertainty, depending on your point of view. Now, the sweet aroma of pine resin and sea salt mingles in the crisp evening air as the fire crackles, and storytelling becomes the beat of the night. Across this scene, the simplicity of Viking life, with its attention to detail, mirrors the eternal human quest for beauty, familiarity, and identity, no matter how well hidden beneath modern aesthetics and digital masks. So, as your tale-laden ship of thoughts finds harbor amid cozy waves of time, let the notion sway you softly, lulling warm assurances. We drift together toward a tranquil horizon, where each ripple of night whispers stories, offerings of simplistic charms crafted in the embrace of evenings long past and dreams yet aglow with life's wondrous hues. With each gentle stride further into dreams, every touch of moonbeams striving to light the way, there's peace in this corridor carved through history, echoing softly onto the edge of slumber's shore. Viking whispers cradle you serenely, wrapped in timeless journeys through paths worn smooth by stories telling, and tomorrow's gentle promise of journeys beyond. As the Nordic winds ease you onwards, you find yourself transported to the refined world of the Georgian era, where elegance and societal norms tango through candlelit ballrooms. Picture yourself in a drawing room, bustling with polite conversation, all amidst layers of silks and satins that rustle like whispers of secret confessions. It's an era where appearances ruled supreme in personal hygiene. Well, that took a charmingly quirky backseat. Those elegant men and women of the Georgian period faced a particular dilemma. Body odor was less an affront and more an accepted part of life's aroma, mingled with lavender sachets and powdered wigs. With the absence of effective deodorants, creative substitutes cropped up, like the foresight someone shows when they order 2 iced coffees instead of 1, knowing full well the afternoon's energy dip is unyielding. These elegant folks often scented themselves with high concentration perfumes, much as one might cruise through a fancy hallway today with the allure of confidence, courtesy of an exclusive cologne. Meanwhile, mulling spices hovered in the salons, much like today's anticipated playlists hang in your earbuds, promising ambiance while ensuring no one scent or tune spokes beyond their welcome. Here's an intriguing fact. During this time, people believed that sweating was cleansing, helping to expel the impure humors of the body. Thus, many individuals were less concerned about embracing the natural scent of productivity, an extension of excusing forgotten Tupperware leftovers now and then, you might say. For a dash of curious whimsy, carriages often carried an assortment of citrus peels, herbs, and spices within delicate mesh sachets, providing sweet distraction from less than sweet scents swirling inside. You could consider this charisma a la automobile, if you will, a precursor to those tiny car fresheners that sway playfully with each left turn. Historians still debate whether these practices were as fashionable as they were necessary, or if they masked technological limitations, like teasing the moral fabric of future epochs, where convenience gleams. These weren't mere antics. They were adaptations born of foresight that possibly whispered rhymes of hygienic humor. Now imagine wandering through a grand ballroom where compliments flutter as freely as smoke rings, the hum of conversation a mellifluous tide whisking you across parquet floors. The dance and twirl of lace and laughter blend the kaleidoscope beneath glimmering chandeliers. It's a world reminiscent of how snippets of lightning in a glass ball hold your fascination, as fleeting as they are luminous on paper. Thus, the Georgian era imparts its lessons with the grace of an unexpected fondness for courtly elegance and proper etiquette, hopes twined in curls, gowns, and powdered noses. For in this vivid painting of fragrant byways and imaginary banquets, you witness a world elastic enough to see the light, humor wrapping itself amidst drawn curtains of pomp and circumstance without bijou daydreams. And so, as the half-light gives way to dreamy pastures, you surrender softly to the illusion of this nostalgic stroll alongside the gentlest shadows of time. Leaving footprints on timeless lawns, you slip into slumber as the moon mellow across life's opera. With every punctuation, a playful soprano sets minds adrift, momentarily tracing hearts with the wisp of a night's gentle grace. Warmth lingers comfortably, punctuation amidst dreams, and with each breath flows the night's fragrant transience. From the swirl of silk and subtle scents of the Georgian ballroom, you ease into a world of vivid colors and sacred rituals, the realm of the Aztec civilization, where cleanliness bears a sacred rhythm. As you journey into this ancient world, you find yourself enveloped by the rich, earthy tones of a vibrant city that beats with the pulse of nature and spirituality intertwined. The Aztecs, known for their intricate rituals and profound connection to the natural world, held bathing in high regard, so much so that it became a daily ritual rooted in both practicality and spirituality. Imagine stepping into a temazcal, a traditional sweat lodge, where stones are heated and water is splashed to create billowing clouds of steam. It's a cleansing ceremony as soothing as curling up with your favorite novel, its spine worn from nights of turning pages under soft lamplight. In this hot embrace, participants sweated out impurities, aligning body and spirit with the rhythm of the earth. It was a deep and communal form of renewal, unlike today's gym saunas, where headphones create invisible walls of solitude, even as every misty breath connects in shared exhaustion. Here's a remarkable historical fact for you. Aztecs used a fragrant soap made from the bark and roots of the copal tree, a precursor to the sweet lathers of our familiar body washes. It's a blend so intoxicating that it invited what felt like nature itself into their daily rituals, much like candles flickering on bathroom counters in homes today, casting an aromatic spell on your senses. And for a quirky aside, picture this. Aztec leaders frequently bathed and donned perfumes made from flowers so potent they broadcasted power and divinity, almost a wearable declaration like a monarch's crown or a modern influencer's over-the-top fashion statement. Yet, historians still argue whether these practices were purely practical or politically motivated, a dance between choosing health benefits and portraying propaganda, much like today's decisions whether to eat kale for its nutrients or its Instagram worthiness. Wandering through the marketplace under the painted sky, you find the stalls, alive with a feast of colors and sounds, from sellers hawking vibrant textiles to the grinding of fragrant cacao under stone. The air vibrates with a sense of community bound by shared needs, a tapestry woven with ritual and reality, much like a modern festival echoing through open streets. Just as these rituals draw you into their sacred dance, you recognize an ageless desire for connection, comfort, and the familiar rhythm of daily rites that soothe the spirit. It's an understanding that the night sky feels perpetually woven among figures as old as stories and hopes spun from lifetimes of quiet devotion. As the day yields to the star glow above, these time-bound stories twine between glowing constellations, anchoring you quietly to sleep's gentle embrace. They whisper ancient blessings across your mind's dreamscape, translations between the earth's breath, the soul's song, and the lingering notes you carry into a tapestry threaded with both memory and promise. And it is here, wrapped in these timeless rituals and vibrant legacies, you find yourself curled into night's warm embrace, gently cradling peace born of understanding and dreams tenderly reimagined. You slip softly from the vibrant hues of the Aztec Empire, where ritual and daily life thrummed like a pulse from the earth itself, and now find yourself curious about today's self-care curiosities shaped by this diverse history of cleanliness lavished with whimsy. As your thoughts meander through the quiet tapestry of time, you begin to see patterns, histories intertwining with today's modern rituals. Picture yourself lounging on a couch, phone aglow with countless videos offering a world of skincare tips and routines, each more elaborate than the next. It's got that comforting hum to it, one that says, hey, forget the world's worries and swipe right into this new hydrating technique known as glass skin, promising yet irresistible softness akin to a glazed donut. There's a coziness, perhaps, not unlike the bejeweled opulence of ancient courts trying to master the portrait-perfect face, all without the Instagram filters. While scrolling through a virtual serenade of glowing skin concoctions, you notice the quirky juxtapositions. Some things never change, like the desire for soft skin or the allure of ethereal scents. It's intriguing to see how self-care trends peek through tunnels of time, blending everything from Elizabethan oddities to Cleopatra's legendary milk baths, all converging into a modern pursuit for that perfect, stark, no-filter glow. It's almost like watching a paradox unfold, constantly connected, yet seeking wellness tools to disconnect. Like switching your phone to airplane mode just so you can, maybe, log in those 8 hours of precious Z's, just as if a nod to history's past, when quietude was the natural byproduct of sundown's descent. Here's a charming notion. In many ways, self-care has evolved into an art of mindful mischief. Take something like those face mask selfies, where even 10 minutes of avocado-spattered calm can feel transformative, given an adequately atmospheric playlist holding both the solemnity of a Roman bath and the playful sanctity of a bubble bath at the end of a bustling week. Historians might puzzle over whether this modern glorification echoes necessity or indulgence. Though aren't those Pinterest-perfect skincare shelves merely a testament to humanity's desire for comfort amid life's labyrinthine pace? Just like ancient attempts perfected and publicized, choices whisper across eras, promising a hinge into what's both temporarily sojourned upon and timelessly sustainable. Now, you weave through this calming continuum. Each routine holds a memory of attempts that transcended mañana, a rites of passage led across century-spanning horizons, a chorus to discover identity beyond every sparkle, tool, or travel-sized trinket, reminding you of inner and outer peace. And as these warm threads of introspection guide you into softer hours, let them cradle you like aged laughter spun by the hearth, and new world wonders pulsed with serene ties. They meander through a deep and rhythmic embrace, bringing forth echoes of yesteryears into a tapestry of reflective repose. Star-bright skies lean in close, cradling the harmony of all that's been before, now blanketing you softly in night's whispered mystery and promise, pinning gentle hope betwixt the folds of whispered dreams and festive dawns. Herein lies the gentle hush as slumbering serenity wraps you warmly, and each breath hums along memories to tomorrow's sweet breath.